Hi, and welcome back to the third and final webinar in our series on detached youth work for No Knives, Better Lives. I'm Emily, and I'm part of the No Knives, Better Lives team. Today, I'm talking to Mary Q. Burnside and Shelley Cummings from Granton Youth in Edinburgh. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mary. I'm the manager at GY, and I've been involved in the design and delivery of the street work programme for about 5 or 6 years now.
And I'm Shelley. I'm the youth work manager, the volunteer manager, sorry, and I have been part of the Detached youth work team for 10 plus years.
So today, Mary and Shelley will be sharing their experiences of managing and running detached youth work. And today we're focusing on evaluating detached youth work and how those relationships with young people might come to an end. So Mary and Shelley, could you describe a difference you've made through detached youth work on a particular young person or a group of young people?
We're talking about this, and it's quite difficult, and I think I mentioned it previously. When you're working out on the street, you don't necessarily have the neat beginning, middle, and ending that you would in regular indoor youth work settings. I guess you find out how things have gone in a positive way from other young people. So you've maybe engaged with a young person, maybe from the age of 12 right the way through over the years, watched them getting involved in some activities that were less than positive, had conversations with them, given them, signposted them, given them guidance, and then you hear further down the line that they're working and they're doing okay, and or that they're at college and things like that. So they kind of turn things around, and you can't say for sure that it was the conversations that you've had with them, but sometimes for some young people, the kind of street work the youth workers that are delivered and detached are the only positive role models that they might have in their life, and the only person that's consistently there for them, rain or shine, kind of still willing to talk to them, willing to engage with them, depending whether, sometimes they're insulting you, sometimes they're nice to you, sometimes you get all sorts, but it's about that. And yeah, we've definitely got young people that have come into the counselling service through the detached work that we do. They've come into the volunteer programme, and so that type of engagement, you can see much more of a journey for the young person, but it's not always as neat and tidy as that. And I would say to anybody that's delivered in detached youth worker, don't always expect that nice neat ending that you would hope for in regular youth work.
And the development could also be, for example, we have a group that are very difficult to reach, very difficult to work with. It's a group that no other agency that we know of are even making any attempts to work with them. But consistently, they are now communicating with us and talking to us about issues that they're having, about support that they need, in a way that they have never been open to before. So we know that we've had a massive impact on that development and within that group. It doesn't mean they're all in positive places now, but they're in more positive places now than they were then, and in more positive places than if we never intervened at all.
And you can see their development, and it's the kind of soft indicators, if you like. They're now much more able to manage a conversation with you on a level that isn't trying to shock you or trying to be offensive. It is a much more grown up and formal conversation where they can conduct themselves more positively, express themselves. And again, that's because we consistently say, please don't use that language, please don't do this, I'll talk to you about such and such. And that drip consistent approach has enabled them to communicate with us a lot more effectively now and manage who they are and where they're at and describe where they want to go as well. So yeah, that's a positive.
What would you say are kind of the main differences, again, if people are kind of coming from a more traditional indoor youth work setting, from a youth club, for example? What would you say, how would they kind of transition into this type of youth work, and thinking again of that relationship, and like you said about kind of not necessarily having a neat ending, what would you say are the main kind of differences and things that they should anticipate?
I think it's back to, you know, lesson one: know what your purpose is, know why you're going out and what you're trying to achieve, know what the boundaries are, and don't have huge expectations on getting to the end of the journey. You know, it is that journey, that process that is a very slow and very much at the pace that the young people set. So I guess back to that patience thing again: be patient, be consistent.
Yeah, I think it's quite important that to say that the young people that we bump into and that we speak to on a regular basis, even within a group, they're all at different stages of their lives and what they're doing and their choices and their learning and their development. And we're not there to take them on a journey as a group to the same place. We might only take 3 or 4 out of a group of 30 on a journey. And that's okay. That's our purpose isn't to go out there and change the lives of every young person that we work with and get them to a point where they're ready for school, ready for college, or ready for jobs, or ready for whatever. Ours is to get them to where they want to be. So if it is just that they want to be able to hold a conversation, great, that's brilliant. Well done, pal, we've done it. If it is that they want to get a job, great, that's fine, let's work on it. But it changes for young person to young person, and depending on their scenarios that they're at home. So it's not personal, ever. It's never, ever personal to you. It's always what's happening for them. So you might be having great interactions for weeks, and then it goes really bad. And then you find out that it's because something's happened at home or something's changed at home. And that's had a massive impact and it's set them back. That's not personal to you, that's their journey, and we just need to carry them on that journey as much as we can.
So how do you take all of that into account, and thinking of, again, all of those different interactions that you might have over a course of a session, and again about the different journeys? How do you then put that all into your thinking and kind of evaluate your sessions?
We use, during our sessions, we use UBIs. So we do it in a UBI format. And then our indicators are very broad, so that it covers a mass of issues or anything that might arise. So open communication constantly with the manager and with our funder makes a massive difference, so that if we're evaluating it properly, we can see the changes happening quicker. So if we have got an outcome or an indicator that hasn't been used as much, we can say, right, well, is that still an issue? Do we maybe need to go back to the funder and change and amend that? And as long as we keep the communication open, I think that it works.
Could you give us an example, Mary, of like what might be an indicator, and perhaps how a funder would like to kind of see the evaluation of those sessions, or your particular funder?
Yeah, I mean, so for us, we use the youth work outcomes for every project within GY, and you know, and we pick certain, we don't pick all of them obviously, but we pick certain ones for different projects, and we have indicators that reflect what we're likely to see. So for street work, young people are more confident, resilient, and manage their behaviour more positively. And then it's like, so through our engagements tonight, how did we see that? Well, you know, for instance, 5 of those 20 young people actually came across to us to have the conversation. They initiated the conversation. That's a sign that their increased confidence. So it's things like that, and we measure that. I'm a bit of a stickler for monitoring and evaluating. and it is, there's no point in going out and doing all this amazing work, because it really is, amazing work without being able to say what you're achieving and why it's important to be achieving it. So because it's street work, and because you can sometimes meet half a dozen young people in a night, and sometimes you can meet 70, then it's about saying, how do we measure that? So it's not about numbers. It's about measuring differences in behavior, differences in approach, differences in the desire for change for a lot of the young people. So that goes back to the kind of medical ABI model, now UBI model of, desire for change. Are they aware that change needs to happen? And then when they're ready to make that change, are they supported to make it? And then to support them when maybe the change doesn't go the way that they want it to. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
And so you're saying you're a real stickler for evaluation then, Mary, so I'm guessing that means you have to do a lot of it, Shelley. Have you ever had to change what you do then in your detached youth work as a result of kind of your evaluation and what you've seen?
I would say that we're constantly changing and adapting. So, for example, we used to carry the bags and now we don't, as a great example. That's because during evaluation we found that it's not making the difference that we want. It's not affecting our young people. It's not to say we won't go back to it, but right now it's not suitable for what we're doing, and that's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
And with the street, your detached youth work, is it something that you tell young people about in advance, or is kind of the first time they know about this, the first time they'd see you out on the street?
So I suppose this answer would be different for other organisations. We've been doing street work now for 10 plus years. So our red jackets are well known within the area, from young people straight through to adults. We try to be as consistent as possible in terms of going out at the same times on the same nights. Obviously, weather dependent and staff availability changes whether that's able to happen all the time. But we do try to make it as consistent as we possibly can. And no, we don't really advertise it. We just go out and we see them and they know when we're there, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, we used to put stuff on Facebook or on Twitter, but to be honest, just being out and they see you. Young people, don't really look at that. They know when you're out because they see you and they're out and about. And then, they look for you sometimes, which is good, on the Friday nights, especially Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they're kind of busier nights, then they'll look out for you. So again, COVID has kind of hampered that somewhat because the streets are certainly quieter.
And do you find there's a lot of then like word of mouth amongst young people of if they've had a positive engagement with you, that again that they would pass that on to their friends, or do you not find that that's really a key feature?
Oh no, word of mouth is very important. I mean, the older ones will even say, oh no, they're all right, they're youth workers, like it's okay to talk to them. So yeah, we kind of get the seal of approval, and that's quite helpful as well when you're trying to engage a younger cohort or a new cohort that are coming through. But yeah, no, the word of mouth is really important.
So you're saying that young people kind of recognize when you're out and again know that kind of consistency and schedule as far as possible. What about the wider community? So how do you think you're viewed as youth workers, detached youth workers in the community, and is there any specific ways that you're also supported by the local community?
Kind of mixed bag there. Shelley's local, so she'll know more about this than me, but I think some people think that we're the young people police, that we should be kind of, I don't know, chaining them up and stopping them from doing what they're doing. There's young people in the park in a big group. Well, it's a park, it's allowed. But yeah, I think so. But I think most of the community recognise that we're out there and we're trying to engage and trying to manage risk and keep them safe. So yeah.
Yeah, we have in the past previously went to like community meetings and stuff as the voice of young people, because sometimes their voices are completely missed. But I do think, yeah, it's it's one of the things that there's a small portion of the community that think that young people should be seen and not heard, and another portion that are saying, oh, young people get away with loads and there's nothing for young people to do. That is one of my hated comments, is when people say that there's nothing for kids to do, especially when we know that there's loads happening and it's just a case of finding that information. So a lot of the time we're sharing that information. But yeah, we're certainly trying to be as open and honest with the communities and the young people to say, we're not here to move young people on, we're here to support young people, and that's our main role.
We're thinking of youth workers who perhaps in this time, obviously during restrictions and when other clubs, youth clubs might be shut, and perhaps digital youth work isn't the appropriate method to use. What challenges do you think they might be facing when they're kind of forced to kind of quickly adapt to using street work as a method of delivery, perhaps when they don't have quite as much experience of it?
I would say the most important part is the preparation. Preparing yourself to have the change in mindset and the change in expectations, and that's from manager level straight down to whoever's working the beat. And I think that's really important. We're really lucky. Obviously, Mary's our manager, but she does street work, so she 100% totally gets what we're doing. But I know that that's not always the case, and some managers can put expectations that aren't realistic or achievable. So I do think that it needs to start there, because that sets the tone. And then in terms of being consistent and patient and adapting to what the needs are of the young people is what every youth worker does anyway. It's just changing the setting.
What would you say from a manager's perspective, Mary? Again, if they're managing a service and perhaps not delivering directly themselves, perhaps they don't have experience of delivering detached youth work, but their youth workers do want to try this. What advice would you give, or what do they need to kind of look out for and to help prepare and support their staff for that?
Again, it's just good practice. It's about saying to your team, go out there and talk to young people and listen to them. Don't tell them what they need or what they want or what you're going to deliver. Listen to them, have a conversation with them. And maybe that's all they need right now, is someone to talk to, rather than going out and trying to deliver loads and loads of activities, basically taking indoor youth work outside. It's just try and manage, and so just go out and support young people, hear what they have to say. Don't be intimidating. Don't go in all guns blazing, and damage any possibility of building a relationship. Be approachable, be open, be accessible, listen to young people, hear what they have to say, hear what they want, you to deliver, if it's anything at all. It might just be they want that consistency of someone going to be there that they can talk to, and they can get help with particular issues if there's any issues that they raise. Manage expectations, have clear boundaries, and have a purpose. And initially that purpose might just be go out and talk to them and listen.
So to finish us off for today's webinar, have you got any final tips about what works and what doesn't work with detached youth work?
I would say what works is being a team always, so that it's maybe not always the same two people that are staff-wise that are out, so that you do have that relationship with everyone within the team. So if there's 6, trying to change that up a wee bit so that you're going alongside other people, and being as open as you possibly can. The young people on the streets, they're on the streets and they have this ability to see straight through that person that you're trying to be. So you need to be as much you as you possibly can while being in that work environment. And it's really, really difficult. It's really difficult to explain that unless you've been in that situation. But once you're in the situation, you totally understand that. But yeah, I think the young people being able to trust you and understand that you've got their best interests at heart is really important.
And in terms of what doesn't work, so yeah, consistency of approach, purpose, a clear purpose, these are the things that work. Boundaries, and having a safe space for your team to work in. But what doesn't work is the complete opposite. Go out there not having a clue what you're really trying to achieve. A kind of random approach where you're trying to achieve everything and actually achieving nothing very much at all. And don't go out there being reactive. There's absolutely be accessible and be listening, but don't just try and firefight all over the place and try and be everything to everybody, because they'll just spot that a mile away. Go out, be yourself, listen, and yeah, don't go charging in and freak them out, like, hi, I'm a youth worker, yeah, have some fun. Like, no. Just be you and just, yeah, go in, go quiet and listen.
Perfect. Thank you both so much. So there's still a chance to sign up for our Community of Practice event, where you'll have the opportunity to discuss detached youth work practice and problem solve together with others. It's going to be held on Thursday, the 25th of February at 10:30 a.m. You can book your place via the link below. So a huge thank you to Mary and Shelley from Granton Youth for taking the time to share their experiences. Thank you all for watching our series on detached youth work.